So if you didn't have the wonderful opportunity to witness the largest army of groypers yet, who showed up to a Turning Point USA event to hurl a barrage of questions at Charlie Kirk and team, then this is the correct video for you. I'm going to break this all down for you. It's gotten so big that even Michelle Malkin on Twitter is calling Charlie Kirk out, and even Paul Joseph Watson did a video about it. I'm going to show you a little bit from that video today. But first, we're going to start off with a pretty hilarious article from Medium.com. This is written by Anita Bloom, and the title of this article is called Groypers, Turning Point USA, and Nicholas Fuentes. And it's just a couple of paragraphs here. It says, last night, a barrage of illicit questions were launched towards TPUSA's founder and president Charlie Kirk by a group going by the same name, Groypers. These Groypers are toad-like trolls likened to Pepe, but do not be fooled. These Groypers are smarter, better dressed, and prepared for the sort of intellectual debate Pepe can only dream of. These Groypers should not be underestimated, as they are getting stronger under the direction of political pundit named Nick Fuentes. Groypers are a dangerous group of intellectuals who use free speech as a weapon against their unassuming opponents in an attempt to challenging what they like to call milquetoast proponents of conservatism. They are predominantly Christian and maintain the position that the conservative promotion of homosexuality within the Republican Party is to the detriment of society. These Groypers are totally against all forms of immigration, both legal and illegal. Groypers are also against the support of Israel and the foreign occupation of her bordering neighbors like Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Conservatives like Charlie Kirk are set out to battle these Groypers in an attempt at winning the heart of the budding American youth conservative base. Last night, under the direction of Nicholas Fuentes, Patrick Casey, and a slew of other dissident right activists, Groypers descended upon Charlie Kirk and TPUSA with an onslaught of questions intended to challenge, intimidate, and ultimately reveal the liberal nature of their recipients. How is anal sex a conservative value? One Groyper asked. I'm going to show you that clip next, by the way. Another Groyper commended Israelis on their dance moves and implored the cheering crowd to Google dancing Israelis. Disclaimer, do not Google dancing Israelis. This is what it says in their article. And actually that search term skyrocketed after that happened. I'm going to show you that video clip and also the graph that I have on that, showing you that search term skyrocketed. Although I disagree with Charlie Kirk on almost every issue, I would also disagree with the Groyper onslaught of his free speech event, and I do hope that these Groypers are not allowed to practice their free speech at any other events in the future. These Groypers are a menace to society, and they must be stopped at any cost. This is from Anita Bloom on Medium.com. So we're going to get into Michelle Malkin, Paul Joseph Watson. I'm going to show you a few clips from the event. We're going to talk about why this is important and why this is actually happening and why it's important for it to continue to happen. Before we do, I just want to remind you to go ahead and take a look at Subscribestar or Patreon. Links are in the description. If we can get a small percentage of you over there to either Subscribestar or Patreon for the cost of a cup of coffee a month, you will get access to private Patreon and Subscribestar only content, and also it will help replace the demonetization this channel has experienced. This entire channel has been completely and entirely demonetized, so check out the links in the description for that. So here we go. This is Michelle Malkin on Twitter calling Charlie Kirk out as cringe, which was pretty epic. By the way, Michelle Malkin had the only speech that was worth a damn at this last CPAC conference. The CPAC conference before that, Conservatism Inc., had Facebook and Google sponsor the event. So Big Tech sponsored the Conservative Political Action Conference. If this doesn't show you all you need to know about Conservatism Inc. and why this is important to do this, then I don't know what will, but we're going to continue. So she calls Charlie Kirk out as cringe. She says that Charlie Kirk triples down on stapling green cards to F1 diplomas, falsely claims that green cards only provide temporary residency. And also, he had the same take. Basically, what he was doing was parroting a talking point from the far left, from Hillary Clinton and others. And then someone asked a question about it. So first, let's play the clip of Charlie Kirk talking about stapling green cards to diplomas.
If you graduate from a United States university with a skill, upon graduation of your diploma, we should staple a green card behind your diploma. Okay, if you have a skill and you've been educated in our country, I don't think it makes sense to export that person to go back to Korea or Sudan or wherever. So then all of a sudden we export the intellectual investment that we made within our own university. That doesn't make logical sense to me.
Look, folks, it makes absolutely no sense, by the way, that we send home 40,000 engineers and scientists who earn a PhD in our university every year, and we send them back home. We should be stapling a green card to each and every one of those degrees as they walk across the stage.
By the way, if someone gets an advanced degree, I want them to stay here, so I'd staple a green card to their diploma.
You may recall that when we did in 2005, 2006, our innovation agenda, we said right then and there, staple a green card to the diploma for one piece of it.
So then this question was asked about his position on this. Now, I did post the entire, basically all of the relevant clips on my Telegram channel. Link in the description below if you want to follow over there. It's probably my favorite alternative social media platform. They're not going to ban me. They're not going to delete things that I post videos, post pictures, and you can follow a bunch of people over there. It's very easy to use, so check the links in the description. You can create your own channel there as well. So this question was asked. It said, in the wake of the student debt crisis, stagnant wage growth across all education levels and fields, how is regurgitating this far-left talking point of stapling green cards to diplomas America first? And once again, if you want to see the answers, I'm just going to show you the questions that were asked because this is what's relevant, and also provide a few suggested questions for Charlie Kirk if you're planning on attending the events, the upcoming events. If you want to see the answers, just go to the Telegram channel. I've posted all the relevant clips there. And then you even have Paul Joseph Watson, who posted a video. I'm just going to play a little bit of this. If you want to go to see the full video, you can go to his Twitter page. But he posted a video calling out Conservatism Inc. He's even been blacklisted by a lot of these sort of Charlie Kirk-type people. He's been blacklisted on Fox News. And he has a little bit to say about this. Let's take a listen.
So there's basically a burgeoning ideological civil war, you could call it, or ideological tussle within the right between Conservative Inc., the mainstream right, and the dissident right. And this has come to the fore over the past couple of weeks or so with these young dissident right individuals. Their detractors would call them white supremacists. They would argue that showing up and crashing TPUSA events and airing their grievances, in one case with a guy called Nick Fuentes being kicked out of one of these events and not having his free speech respected, which they claim is a giant hypocrisy because, of course, Conservative Inc. is supposed to be all about free speech, especially on college campuses. What are their grievances? The fact that Conservative Inc. shows massive support for waves of legal immigration, and indeed has actually influenced Trump with his last State of the Union saying we need more legal immigrants than ever, despite the fact that the stats show 75% of those legal immigrants vote Democrat anyway. So by supporting massive waves of legal immigration, Conservative Inc. seems to be signing the death warrant for the Republican Party, and indeed for Donald Trump in a more short-term sense.
Right. And this is exactly why this is important. A lot of people don't understand this. What he just said is absolutely true. You have people like Charlie Kirk in the Trump administration pushing Trump in the wrong direction, pushing the conservative movement towards the left, which is going to be detrimental to conservatism, actual conservatism, in the future. It's going to be the death of conservatism if we don't get a hold on this. It's people like Charlie Kirk. It's not all about Charlie Kirk, but it's people like Charlie Kirk. It's people who are sort of these Bush operatives, these Koch industry-funded Bush operatives who are pushing Trump in the wrong direction. This was outlined pretty explicitly in this recent Frontline PBS documentary. I don't know if you've seen the documentary. I think it was published just a few days ago, which it talks about sort of these people who are pushing Trump in the wrong direction as far as America First goes, as far as his agenda goes. For instance, in Michelle Malkin's book, Open Borders, Inc., she goes on to talk about Matt Schlapp and Mercedes Schlapp, who put on the recent CPAC conference that I was at, that kicked out people like Nick Fuentes, kicked out people like other American nationalists as well, but then were completely happy to host far-left activist communist journalists at their event and give them press passes. Now, another thing that's important to note here is you have other sort of Conservatism Inc. people chiming in, calling for Twitter to ban Nick Fuentes. These are quote-unquote conservatives calling for Twitter to ban Nick Fuentes. Sebastian Gorka says this person is evil. How is, quote, Holocaust denier Nick Fuentes still on Twitter and verified after Caleb Hull tweeted a video about him joking. It was a joke, essentially, talking about baking cookies and using sort of an analogous situation. And this is Sebastian Gorka calling for Twitter to ban Nick Fuentes. This is a conservative. This is someone who we should put our trust in to fight for free speech online, calling for someone to be banned from Twitter because of an opinion that he disagrees with, or a view or a joke that he disagrees with. You know, actually, I talked to Sebastian Gorka at CPAC. You know what he told me? I said, hey, listen, conservatives need to really be pushing for free speech online. You know what Sebastian Gorka told me? He said that this is essentially what he said was this is basically impossible, and it's not going to come right away, and why are you even worried about it? This guy was at the social media summit, the free speech social media summit, I think. This is why it's important for us to take these fake idiots down. So Michelle Malkin talks about Mercedes Schlapp and Matt Schlapp, the Schlapp family, and how they blocked the Angel Moms from visiting President Trump on a bill that he was about to sign. And I'm sure that you know all about that. I did a whole video on the CPAC conference. If you want to go back and watch that, you can see the breakdown. No need to rehash that here. But I do want to show you a couple of clips from the event and why this is absolutely important. So the first one, and my favorite one, this is from Dave Riley, who works for E. Michael Jones. Epic. He had the rosary in hand, just like the last guy that we talked about in the recent breakdown. And here's what he had to ask.
Because of E. Michael Jones' groundbreaking work, we now understand that sexual liberation is political control. It's a form of political control. And you have multiple times advocated on behalf of accepting homosexuality, accepting homosexual acts as normative in the conservative movement. How does anal sex help us win the culture war?
I'm going to let the gay man answer
Wait a minute.
We're going to let the gay man answer that. what a fact. Oh, I'm going to let the gay man answer that. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so I'm going to have to edit that word out there for YouTube. But there you go. So that's the first clip there. Now, he also held up, before he asked his question, the Culture Wars magazine. Dave Riley did. By the way, good guy, great friend. Dave Riley is awesome, doing awesome work. And then we had this question here, which was called Racist, by Charlie Kirk's partner on stage on Twitter later on. I'm going to show you that. All of these are on Telegram, by the way. There's other ones that I don't have time to show you today, but check out the Telegram channel, link in the description. So here we go. Here's this one.
The U.S. Census Bureau population projections. In 2045, whites will account for less than 50% of the population in the United States. Given that the Democratic Party's policies do not point towards the maintaining of our American ideals, and given that most groups other than whites overwhelmingly vote Democrat, how can we be sure that said American ideals will be maintained when millions of immigrants come in with majority Democratic support? Can you prove that our white European ideals can be maintained if the country's majority is no longer made up of white European descendants?
You've advocated for homosexuality, said that there's a place for the gay agenda within the conservative movement. My question is, and you're also comfortable with transgenders and cross-dressers, I understand. So my question is there any point where conservatives should take a moral stance on Christian morality, or should we abandon it altogether? So in other words, what is what is your brand of conservatism doing to actually conserve Christian morality? If we're ceding to the left on transgender, gay rights, gay marriage, we don't want that in conservatism.
So you don't.
Now, this is sort of a funny, playful question. And I suppose if you ask this in sort of a funny and playful way, it turns out to be okay. It turns out to be good. This one was fine. But I think that we should really focus on the contradictions of Conservatism Inc. and how Conservatism Inc.'s ideals is going to be detrimental to the future of conservatism, the future of legitimate right-wing ideas, the future of Christian morality, etc. Because then we can get people like Michelle Malkin on board. We can get people, other sort of popular conservative pundits on board, people like Paul Joseph Watson on board, all of this, and sort of push the push Conservatism Inc. in the right direction, shift the Overton window, and actually be able to take hold of the conservative movement and push it into an actual conservative direction. Now, if you really want to focus on this, I don't think that if this should not be the main focus, but this question was pretty hilarious. Let's take a listen.
What a racist question that was. So I got a quick and fun, lighthearted question for you, Charlie. So I know you gave a speech in Jerusalem earlier this year.
Yes, I did.
Were there any awesome, fun dance parties that you guys had afterwards? Because I heard that Israelis are some of the best dancers in the world. If you guys don't believe me, just Google dancing Israelis. It's insane how good their dance moves are. Would you agree or disagree with that?
And basically, he just said, "Thank you for your question," and I think that he knew what he was talking about. Interesting. So we had Google Trends right after this clip went viral. I actually posted the clip on Instagram, and you can see that the Google Trends for that search term skyrocketed after that clip went viral. So that was actually pretty effective. But once again, we want to have the main focus be on sort of the contradictions of Conservatism Inc., the ideas of Conservatism Inc., and how they highlight those ideas and also highlight how they are detrimental to our movement, to the future of the Republican Party in general. For instance, mathematically, or if things continue on, Republicans will never be able to win a general election ever again in the history of the Republican Party, in the history of America. They will never be able to win states like Texas any longer. They will never be able to win states like Arizona, where the first Democrat senator was elected in the first time in a quarter century. They will never be able to win these states or the general election ever again, and this is very important. And it's important to highlight how the sort of Koch industry, Koch-funded, Bush operative brand of conservatism, this sort of William F. Buckley Reaganite conservatism, hasn't conserved anything, and why it's actually harmful to conservatism, to true conservatism. So this is certainly what we'd like to focus on towards the future. Now, make sure to check out Subscribestar or Patreon. Links are in the description. Like I said, it helps the channel out a lot to replace the demonetization this channel has experienced. And let's go ahead and read a little bit of the Bible here. So we have this quote. Let's see. "This is what the Lord says. Do not be afraid. Don't be discouraged by this mighty army, for the battle is not yours, but God's." Videos are posted every single day here about breaking news topics, so make sure you hit the bell button if you haven't already so that you are notified. Check the description for links to Patreon and PayPal, and of course follow me on Gab, Minds, BitChute, and Instagram. Links in the description as well. And of course these videos only go so far, so be sure to share with family and friends.